We live in an age defined by perpetual noise. Everywhere we look, from the unrelenting news cycle, the volatile markets, the political divisions, to the relentless comparison engine of social media, a new wave of anxiety, anger, or paralyzing fear washes over us every single day. We seek peace in modern solutions, mindfulness, breathing techniques, the resilient wisdom of Stoicism. And these methods work. They grant a momentary lull, a valuable tool for emotional regulation. But too often the peace they grant is fragile, temporary. It collapses the moment external pressures resume their assault. It begs a critical question. What if these approaches are only treating the symptoms of a far deeper, more systemic illness? What if the key to true, unshakable tranquility lies not in self-management, but in a radical, ancient understanding of our reality, a truth known by the Gnostics? These early mystics who flourished 2 millennia ago did not seek to merely manage their destructive emotions. Their path was more drastic. They sought to radically disavow them. For the Gnostics, perpetual tranquility was not an achievement of willpower, but an automatic natural consequence of acquiring a specific profound insight, gnosis. This gnosis, they taught, revealed that everything that causes us distress, our ambition, our fear of failure, our attachments, is a meticulously constructed trap. To embrace true calmness, the Gnostics insisted, you must first accept a terrifying proposition: that the world we inhabit, the reality we rely upon, the very environment we try to control, is not a sanctuary, but a prison. This journey begins with the Gnostic creation myth, a disaster. They taught that the world of matter was not the creation of the ultimate good God, the Pleroma, or fullness of light. Rather, it was fashioned by a lesser, deeply flawed, and fundamentally ignorant being known as the Demiurge. The Demiurge, often named Yaldabaoth, is not necessarily evil in the sense of conscious malice, but he is catastrophically blind and arrogant. Mistaking himself for the only existing deity, he ignorantly fashioned the material universe, the cosmos, and the earth itself out of his own delusion and pride. His domain is the entire physical world, the laws of physics, the cycle of birth and death, the human body, and the rigid, often cruel justice associated with the Old Testament. This is the Hyle, the heavy, unspiritual material substance that comprises our existence. For the Gnostic, this physical universe, this Hyle, is a structure of containment, a cage designed to hold the human spirit captive. The mechanism of this control is executed by his subordinate forces, the ARCHONS, meaning rulers. These ARCHONS inhabit the 7 planetary spheres and act as cosmic border guards, enforcing the rigidity of fate, Hymarmena. But their most critical function, the one most relevant to our psychological dilemma, is their control over human consciousness and emotion. The ARCHONS are the unconscious forces that drive us toward distraction, attachment, and the self-destructive passions that keep us chained to the material cycle. The Gnostic understanding fundamentally reframes our anxiety. When we strive for material success, for social validation, or when we are paralyzed by the fear of loss, we are merely playing the game according to the rules set by the jailers, the ARCHONS. We are seeking peace within a system that was specifically designed to foster our disquiet and our forgetfulness. You cannot achieve true tranquility by mastering the rules of a prison built to keep you from escaping. The Gnostic prescription requires a radical disillusionment, the immediate and total rejection of the Demiurge's jurisdiction. True calmness is achieved the moment you recognize that this cosmic system, its values and its fears, hold absolutely no legitimate authority over your true essential self. This truth alone is designed to short-circuit the entire apparatus of material attachment. The modern world tells us that our emotions, our deep-seated fears, the searing rage, the gnawing anxiety, are fundamentally us. They are seen as authentic expressions of our internal state, requiring acceptance and management. The Gnostics offered a chillingly different perspective. Our passions, Pathos, are not organic parts of our true spirit. They are alien programs, psychological mechanisms installed by the ARCHONS to prevent us from recognizing our true divine origin. If the physical world is the cage, then emotions are the locks on the spiritual door. Consider fear, the most paralyzing of all passions. We fear loss, the loss of wealth, the loss of reputation, the inevitable loss of the physical body. Yet the Gnostic view states clearly, all these things, wealth, reputation, and the physical vehicle, Hyle itself, belong to the Archons and the Demiurge. Fear is therefore the Archon's ultimate instrument. It is the psychic pressure that compels us to devote all our energy and attention to protecting temporary, material possessions that we do not truly own. This obsession keeps the spiritual spark, numa, constantly distracted, constantly focused on the illusory drama of the material prison. Rage and envy serve a similar highly effective purpose. Rage is a frantic, desperate attempt to impose order upon the inherent chaos of the Demiurge's flawed creation. When something unfair happens, when our expectations are violated, we become enraged because we demand justice in a world that was never designed to deliver it. This anger chains us to the system, forcing us to expend vital spiritual energy in futile battles over fleeting earthly concepts. Envy compels us to compete, to compare, to achieve dominance. All lower-level archonic goals that ensure we remain focused on the external ladder of status, completely forgetting the internal ascension that is our only true purpose. This radical framing, that emotions are external programs, not internal truth, is the Gnostic secret to unshakable calm. If you believe your rage is who you are, you must spend your life trying to master it. If you accept the Gnostic teaching that your rage is a foreign signal, an archonic distraction, you instantly gain psychic distance. You are no longer fighting your passion. You are merely observing a program running in the foreground. Once observed and identified as alien, its power to compel action dissolves. The quiet revolution begins the moment you consciously declare, "This fear is not mine." The Gnostics taught that the highest spiritual state was Ataraxia, a state of radical unperturbedness, or absolute peace. But their path to Ataraxia was fundamentally different from the Stoics. The Stoic seeks to rationally accept the external world. The Gnostic seeks to radically reject the external world as fundamentally unworthy of attention. They understood that engaging in the emotional drama is to volunteer for the Archon's control. Therefore, true spiritual sovereignty, the prerequisite for lasting calm, is defined by a total refusal to participate in the passions of the material realm. It is an act of sacred disengagement. If the material world is the prison and emotions are the chains, what is the key to absolute freedom? The Gnostics answered with a single word: Gnosis. Gnosis is often mistranslated simply as knowledge, but it is far more than intellectual understanding. It is a profound, transformative, heart-centered realization. It is the instantaneous moment of awakening when you suddenly perceive the cosmic structure, the Demiurge's lie, the Archon's control, not as abstract philosophy, but as the concrete operational reality of your existence. Gnosis is the moment the matrix glitch becomes visible, and you finally grasp the unreality of your surroundings. This realization is only possible because of the most precious Gnostic teaching, the numa. Deep within every human being, they taught, is a fragment of the true God, the perfect transcendent source of all light, the Pleroma. This fragment is the PNEUMA, often described as a spark of divine light or a sleeping soul. Crucially, this numa is the only part of us that was never created by the Demiurge. It is an alien eternal element placed here accidentally, or perhaps deliberately by the Supreme God, to serve as a seed of rebellion and escape. Therefore, the path to Gnosis and to permanent calm is the act of recalling this numa. It is the process of reversing the cosmic hypnosis imposed by the Archons. When the Gnostic begins to seek, the numa wakes up. This awakening allows the individual to shift their entire center of being. You stop identifying with the body, the passions, the social status, and the fears, all of which are Hyle, the property of the Demiurge. Instead, you begin to identify exclusively with the internal, untouchable spark of light. This shift in identity has immediate, radical psychological consequences. If you are the numa, a fragment of the eternal perfect God, then what is there left to fear? The Archons can harm the body, they can destroy your reputation, they can seize your wealth, but they are utterly powerless over the numa. The numa is outside their jurisdiction. It is like being a foreign diplomat observing a peasant uprising in a country you don't belong to. The drama is irrelevant. The Gnostic's deepest calm is rooted in this fundamental knowledge. I am not this prison. I am not my fear. I am not my grief. I am not even this failing body. I am the eternal light temporarily residing in a temporary container subject to the temporary flawed laws of the Demiurge. This perspective provides the ultimate psychological distance from life's inherent suffering. The numa knows its true home is the Pleroma, the fullness of being beyond all chaos, beyond all matter. All striving, all attachment, all anxiety becomes utterly pointless when measured against the scale of eternity. This is the meaning of Gnostic peace, a serenity born not of acceptance, but of absolute transcendence. The peace achieved through Gnosis is not passive acceptance. It is an active, powerful form of resistance. When a Gnostic achieves the full realization of the numa, when they truly know they are a piece of the Pleroma, they automatically enter a state known as Ataraxia. Ataraxia, or unperturbedness, is radical spiritual calm. The Stoics pursued Ataraxia by rationally accepting fate, saying, "I cannot control the external world, so I will control my reaction." The Gnostic goes far beyond this. The Gnostic says, the external world is ruled by a blind fool, the Demiurge. Therefore, its dramas are inherently false and worthless. I don't merely accept them, I invalidate them. This is the meaning of spiritual sovereignty. If the Archons control the world, and the world controls the anxious, then the Gnostic, who controls nothing but their own inner light, becomes ungovernable. The Gnostic is the ultimate outlier, the one who does not comply. When the markets crash, the Gnostic knows that Hyle, matter, is merely shifting its temporary form, a non-event in the grand cosmic scheme. when political leaders impose tyranny. The Gnostic recognizes this as the expected behavior of the Demiurge's ignorant subordinates. These events hold no emotional weight. For the Gnostic, calmness is not a psychological luxury. It is a declaration of war. Every time you refuse to be drawn into panic, rage, or despair, you are essentially starving the system that was built to feed on those very passions. Some Gnostic texts suggest that the Archons feed on Lush, a kind of psychic energy generated by human suffering, conflict, and strong negative emotions. When the Gnostic remains serene, they cut off the Archons' food supply. Their unperturbedness is an act of sacred sabotage. Furthermore, Gnosis grants insight into the nature of the cosmic error. The Gnostic knows the truth. The suffering in the world is not punishment from an all-good God. It is the inevitable outcome of a flawed, egotistical, and incompetent creator. This knowledge allows the Gnostic to approach suffering, both their own and the suffering of others, with compassionate distance. They see the pain not as eternal injustice, but as the consequence of beings trapped in the Demiurge's illusion, giving their PNEUMA energy to the ARCHONS chains. This understanding prevents the Gnostic from being consumed by the pathos of the world, allowing their inner peace to remain intact and unassailable. Their serenity becomes their shield. The ultimate source of the Gnostics' unshakable peace lies in their understanding of the Pleroma. The Pleroma is the fullness, the transcendent, perfect, luminous realm of the true, unknowable God. It is the eternal, perfect spiritual reality from which the divine spark, numa, accidentally or deliberately descended. The Pleroma is the Gnostic's true, eternal home. The realization of the Pleroma provides the final, essential psychological tool: cosmic perspective. When viewed through the lens of eternity, the entire material universe, the earth, the sun, the billions of years of history, and the entire cycle of human suffering becomes nothing more than a momentary flicker, a temporary dream created by the lesser God. If you are a traveler from an infinitely superior, flawless homeland, and you are temporarily detained in a dusty, poorly managed foreign jail, how seriously do you take the jailer's petty rules? How much do you grieve the loss of the jail's poor quality blanket, or fret over the other prisoners' opinions? The Gnostic knows that this world is nothing more than that, a brief, uncomfortable stopover. Therefore, attachment to anything in this temporal archonic realm is fundamentally absurd. This cosmic perspective allows the Gnostic to practice radical detachment. Detachment is not coldness. It is a practical recognition that all material gains are temporary, and all material losses are inconsequential. The job loss, the financial hardship, the social humiliation, all occur within the Hyle, the matter of the Demiurge's realm. They are events in the prison. The numa, anchored in the reality of the Pleroma, remains untouched. It views the whole material drama with disinterest, a quiet, powerful knowledge that soon the numa will ascend back to its true state of being. The Gnostic did not wait for death to achieve this state. They lived their lives as aliens or sovereign exiles, already spiritually resurrected in the here and now. They knew that their inner reality was the Pleroma, regardless of the physical chaos surrounding them. They walked through the world, observing its conflicts and its pleasures with the serene calm of someone watching a poorly acted play, secure in the knowledge that they were not part of the performance and that the curtain would soon fall. This perspective is the true secret to why the ancients, the Gnostics, could maintain such profound, unbreakable calm amidst political upheaval, persecution, and plague. They understood that the most powerful form of peace comes from the ultimate cosmic knowledge. This is not real. And if the chaos is not real, then neither is the fear it generates. We began by questioning the temporary nature of modern solutions to anxiety. The Gnostic path offers the radical alternative. True peace is not achieved by controlling the storm, but by transcending the entire sea. The Gnostic achieves calm not through management, but through knowledge, Gnosis. Let us summarize the quiet revolution. First, we must recognize the source of the noise. The physical world is the flawed creation of the Demiurge, and its laws are enforced by the ARCHONS. Second, we must identify the chains. Our strongest passions, fear, greed, anger, are alien programs designed to keep us focused on the low-level drama of the prison. By seeing the emotion as not mine, we diffuse its power. The path to freedom is the awakening of the PNEUMA, the divine eternal spark within. When you anchor your identity not in your temporary body or your fleeting passions, but in this untouchable spark of light, the world loses its jurisdiction over you. Your spiritual sovereignty is restored. In the end, Gnostic tranquility is the highest form of spiritual rebellion. Every breath you take in conscious, deliberate calm is a refusal to feed the system. Every moment of unperturbedness is an act of sacred sabotage against the archons who feed on your distress. Your inner peace becomes your first territory of the Pleroma, conquered in the midst of this turbulent archonic realm. In the face of perpetual global uncertainty, economic collapse, political absurdity, and social chaos, remember the Gnostics. Ask yourself the definitive question. Am I reacting now as my true eternal spark, or am I dancing to the fearful music composed by the blind Demiurge? True, lasting serenity is not a passive gift. It is the active, knowing refusal to grant the material world authority over your soul. Your quiet revolution begins the moment you look at the chaos and declare, with the full weight of the Pleroma behind you, I am not subject to this. This is the path to the true unassailable calm of the ancients.